I want you to picture a scenario. It's happening right now, somewhere, probably in 1,000 living rooms.
Oh, I know this one.
You've got a parent, they're standing in a doorway, dinner's on the table, it's getting cold, and they're calling out to their kid. And the kid, controller in hand, eyes locked on the screen, yells back that universal lie.
Just 1 minute.
Just 1 minute,
Okay.
right? And you wait 5 minutes, 10. You're getting angry, you feel disrespected.
Yep.
But here's the thing, and this is where we're starting today. The kid isn't really lying to you.
Yeah.
Not on purpose.
Yep.
To them, inside that game, those 10 minutes genuinely felt like, 30 seconds?
That is the psychological state of flow. It's a concept from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. When you are that immersed, your whole perception of time just it distorts. You are completely optimized for what you're doing.
And that's the holy grail, isn't it? If you're a teacher or a manager, you look at that level of intensity and you think, why can't I get that focus for algebra or, for compliance training?
That is the billion-dollar question. Can you actually bottle that lightning?
So today we are diving into a really dense, fascinating paper by Quentin Alvarez. It's called Serious Games Psychoclinique. And it's all about serious games. Video games designed for a purpose, for utility, not just for fun.
Right.
But unlike all the usual tech optimism, this paper is kind of a reality check. It asks why, if these tools are so powerful, are they so incredibly hard to actually get into schools, into hospitals?
It's a great paper for that because it moves past the whole gamification will save the world hype. It looks at the messy plumbing of why these things actually fail. It turns out getting the game to work is the easy part.
So let's start with the elephant in the room. Or maybe I should say the Gus Van Sant film Elephant. Because the first big reason Alvarez gives for all this resistance, it's not technical. It's cultural. It's the image problem.
Specifically, the violence problem. You have to remember, for a huge chunk of the population, especially the generation running school boards right now, video game is just synonymous with murder simulator.
They think of first-person shooters.
That's
And the paper brings up the Columbine massacre in '99 as this flashpoint. That was the moment where the media narrative just cemented this idea that doom made them do it.
It did. But Alvarez points to the film Elephant, which is, a fictional take on Columbine. And the reason he brings it up is crucial. Van Sant shows the killers playing video games, sure, yes, but he also shows them buying guns on the internet with zero friction.
He shows the bullying.
The bullying, the violent movies they watch, the parents who are totally checked out.
So the film is saying, look, it's not just one thing.
Exactly, it's a systemic failure. But society loves a simple scapegoat, right? It's way easier to ban a video game than to fix social isolation or, say, gun control laws.
Alvarez says we can't have a serious conversation about educational games until we move past this hypodermic needle theory.
This idea that a game just injects violence directly into a kid's brain.
But then the paper drops this argument from a designer, Gonzalo Frasca, that I have to admit it sounded a little defensive to me at first. He tries to compare the body count of games to books.
It is a provocative comparison, but stick with it because it makes a really sharp point.
Okay, so Frasca says, sure, maybe some people have died because of games, neglect maybe, or heart failure from playing 50 hours straight. Let's say the number's in the thousands.
Okay, thousands.
But then he says, okay, now look at the Bible, look at Mein Kampf.
And suddenly the body count jumps from thousands to millions.
But is that a fair comparison? I mean, a book is just text. A game is an interactive simulation of killing. Isn't the mechanism different?
The mechanism is totally different, but Frasca's point is about the source of the harm. The book Mein Kampf is just paper and glue. If I throw it at you, it might leave a bruise.
Right.
But the millions of deaths weren't caused by the paper. They were caused by the ideology inside it and the sociological context that let that ideology spread.
So he's saying we're blaming the medium, the game, for problems that are actually sociological.
Precisely. We treat the game object as if it's, radioactive, while we ignore the cultural context. It just points out our double standard. We see books as noble even when they spark wars, but we see games as trash because they simulate a gunfight.
And this cultural disconnect, it leads to some pretty funny, cringeworthy moments. The paper talks about the Mouporg affair.
Oh, this is a classic, a true classic in French media history.
So for anyone who doesn't know, it's 2010. A journalist on a big morning show is trying to warn parents about MMORPGs, massively multiplayer online role-playing games.
An alphabet soup he was not prepared for.
Not at all. He's reading the teleprompter. He's clearly never seen this acronym before in his life, and he just panics.
And out comes, watch out for the Muporgs.
It sounds like a Muppet. The Muporgs are coming for your children.
The gaming community just laughed and laughed. But Alvarez uses it to make a really serious point about literacy. I mean, imagine if a school superintendent got up and warned parents about the dangers of library instead of literature.
You would lose all credibility. Instantly.
That's the friction. You have developers making these really sophisticated educational tools, but the gatekeepers, the people signing the checks, they literally don't speak the language.
And because they don't speak the language, they get the definitions wrong. Which brings us to a distinction in the paper that I think is the most useful part for our listeners.
Serious games versus serious gaming.
I will be honest, before reading this, I use them completely interchangeably.
Most people do. But think of it this way. One is a product, the other is a practice.
Okay, break that down. Let's start with the practice. Serious gaming.
The paper uses a rhetorical term for this. It's called catachresis.
Which sounds like a medical condition.
It does, doesn't it? But it just means using something for a purpose it wasn't designed for. Think of it like MacGyver.
Right.
If you use a paperclip to pick a lock, you are engaging in a serious gaming of that paperclip. You're hijacking it.
So in the gaming world, that's a teacher taking a commercial game, something sold for fun, and sort of twisting it to teach a lesson.
Exactly. And the paper has some brilliant examples, like Civilization V. It's a strategy game.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is to build armies, conquer the world.
Right.
But some teachers challenge their students to win using only diplomacy. They have to play as Gandhi and are not allowed to declare war.
But does that actually work as a game? I mean, Civ is built for conquest.
Yeah.
If you take the war out, isn't it just boring?
That's the genius of it. It makes the game incredibly difficult. It makes it frustrating. The students realize how hard pacifism actually is when you've got Genghis Khan on your border being aggressive. The friction is the lesson.
So they're not playing it the way the developers intended.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But they're learning a much deeper lesson about geopolitics.
There's another one that sounded even wilder. Using StarCraft 2, which is straight up Space Marines versus aliens, to teach UN peacekeeping.
Yes. They modded the game. So instead of destroy the enemy base, the player has to protect a village, but, and this is the kicker, they are not allowed to fire first.
Oh, wow.
They can only defend. It is incredibly stressful.
I bet.
It simulates the impossible rules of engagement that real peacekeepers face. You've got all this firepower, but your hands are tied by the rules. You're turning a fun shooting game into a stressful lesson on restraint. That's serious gaming.
Okay, so that's hijacking. Then what is a serious game proper?
That's when the utility is baked in from the very start. You don't buy it for fun, you buy it to learn. America's Army is the famous one, the recruitment tool. Or Cleanway, which is built specifically to teach you about climate change.
So if we have the MacGyver method and the built-for-purpose method, why aren't schools transformed? Why are kids still staring at chalkboards?
And this is where we get to the tragedy of the Technocity case study.
Tragedy feels right. So, okay, set the scene. It's 2006.
Alvarez and his team, they helped create this game, Technocity. The goal is noble. Show middle schoolers that factory work isn't dirty and dangerous anymore. It's high-tech. They want to save the industrial sector.
Okay, so they build the game, they press it onto CD-ROMs, very 2006.
Very 2006. And they mail it out to 600 schools.
And they just assume the Field of Dreams rule applies. If you build it, they will come.
They did, but they didn't come.
Oh.
Well, actually, they did, but not in the way the designers wanted. A year later, they go visit the schools, the teachers. They've mostly ignored it. The discs are collecting dust. But the kids found them.
And were they learning about industrial careers?
No.
Yeah.
They were popping the game in during their lunch break to kill time. They were clicking through all the dialogue without reading it just to get to the mini games.
So they just treated it like a toy.
A total distraction. The mission didn't just fail, it backfired. The tool that was meant to make industry look serious and cool just became another way for kids to goof off.
And the reason it failed wasn't the code.
Not at all. The game worked fine. It failed because there was no accompaniment.
Accompaniment?
It's the ecosystem. You can't just mail a game to a teacher and say, good luck. Teachers are overworked. They don't know how to install it. They don't know how to fit it into a 45-minute class. They don't know how to grade it.
It reminds me of that iceberg metaphor the paper uses. The game is just the tip.
Exactly. The game is the visible 10%. The other 90% is the infrastructure. Do you have computers that can run it? Do you have parental permission slips? Does the curriculum even allow for it? Did the teachers feel threatened by it?
Threatened?
Sure. If the game is teaching the material, what's my role as the teacher? Am I just tech support now? If you don't train the teacher to be the guide, to facilitate the discussion around the game, they will reject it. Technosity failed because they tried to bypass the human element.
Okay, so we've got the image problem, we've got the ecosystem problem, but Alvarez brings up a third hurdle that I found the most intellectually troubling.
Yeah.
The transfer problem.
This is the one that keeps researchers up at night.
It boils down to this.
Yeah.
Does getting good at the game actually mean you're good at the real thing? Or are you just good at pressing buttons?
And to explore this, we have to talk about Captain Novelin.
Please explain this game. I looked up screenshots. It looks bizarre.
It's a Super Nintendo game from 1992. You play a superhero who has type 1 diabetes.
Right.
And your enemies are sugary junk foods. You have to jump over these walking donuts and dodge bouncing sodas.
Okay. Very subtle.
And, periodically you have to manage your insulin levels in the game. The theory was kids play this, they learn to manage their diabetes better.
But in reality?
In reality, think about what your brain is actually doing. You are timing jumps. You're looking for patterns in how the donut moves. You are developing what are called sensory motor skills.
Thumb-eye coordination. I'm learning to be Mario.
You're learning to be a platformer. Does being able to jump over a virtual donut help you calculate an insulin-to-carb ratio at a birthday party in real life?
No. The mechanics don't match the lesson.
Exactly. That is the transfer gap. The loop you're practicing is a gameplay loop, not a cognitive loop about health.
So contrast that with the other example, Mojo S, the stroke rehab system.
That's a success story because it sidesteps that cognitive problem entirely. It's for stroke victims. The game uses a camera to track their arm. To play, you have to physically lift your arm to catch a virtual ball.
So in that case, the game mechanic is the real-world skill.
Yes. Lifting your arm in the game is lifting your arm in reality. The transfer is one-to-one. Plus, they can measure it. They can say, before the game, you could lift your arm 30 degrees. Now you can lift it 45. That's hard science.
But for education, for history or math, it's rarely that direct. We don't have a motion capture for critical thinking.
We don't. And that's where the paper suggests we need to get creative. Alvarez talks about using tangible objects.
This sounded very futuristic, like combining the digital and the physical.
Right, and it connects to theories from developmental psychologists like Winnicott. The idea is to have a physical toy, maybe a doll or a tool, that has an RFID chip in it.
Like the chips in our credit cards.
Exactly. So to play the game, you don't just click a mouse. You have to actually pick up this physical object and place it on a sensor.
So you're breaking that screen barrier.
You're creating a bridge. If the kid has to manipulate a physical object that looks like a diabetic testing kit, the muscle memory is at least a little closer to reality than just pressing A on a controller. It helps ground the flow in the real world.
It sounds like we're trying to reverse engineer that flow state we talked about at the start. We want the kids to be lost in the game, but we also need to, tether them to reality so they actually learn something.
That's the paradox. Too much reality, and it's boring. No flow. Too much game, and it's just escapism, no transfer. Finding that sweet spot is incredibly, incredibly difficult.
So we've covered a lot. We've seen that serious games are fighting this uphill battle against their reputation for violence. We've seen you can't just drop them into schools without accompaniment.
The whole ecosystem.
And we've seen that proving they actually work, proving that transfer. It's scientifically messy.
It's a really sobering look. It's not the magic bullet that Silicon Valley sometimes promises it is.
There was one final thought in the conclusion of the paper that really stuck with me. It's a question Alvarez leaves hanging, and it's almost philosophical.
The question of why.
Yeah. Why are we so obsessed with gamifying everything? Why are we trying to turn school into a video game?
And it forces you to look at the structures themselves. If a kid can focus for 4 hours on Fortnite but can't focus for 10 minutes on a history lesson, is the problem that history isn't fun enough? Or is the problem that the way we teach history is fundamentally broken?
Right. Are we using games as a Band-Aid? Are we just sprinkling sugar on broccoli because we don't know how to cook the broccoli properly?
Or to take it a step further, are we trying to sedate people? If the school environment is rigid and outdated, instead of fixing the environment, do we just say, here, play this game, enter the flow state, and don't worry about the crumbling walls around you?
That is a heavy thought. We might be using flow as a way to avoid the really hard work of systemic change.
It's possible. I mean, games are incredibly powerful tools, but they probably shouldn't be used to hide the cracks in the foundation.
Well, on that cheery note. No, but seriously, it's important to be critical. We can love the tech, but we have to understand the human element.
Absolutely. The user is complex. You can't just program a student the way you program a computer.
That's all for this deep dive. Hopefully next time you see someone lost in a game, you'll look at it a little differently. Not just as wasted time, but as a powerful state of mind that we're still just figuring out how to harness. Thanks for listening.
Keep questioning.